now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today.
I keep getting comments from individuals who want to say I don't know what I'm talking about as related to the death of rapper Takeoff from the group Migos. Now, some of these individuals, I believe, are in their feelings because they're caught up in the celebrity of the group Migos, and others, I believe, are following a lot of misinformation as related to the story, and others are following speculation as related to what has been presented on social media. Now, most of the information I have received as related to the death of rapper Takeoff comes from media sources, and these sources present the story and say that your Takeoff wound up losing his life as related to being a spectator at this dice game, which took place at a private party at this Houston bowling alley. And as they were at this private party at this bowling alley, your Takeoff and your Quevo were participating in a dice game somewhere in the bowling alley. And as this game was going on, it is alleged that your Quevo got in his feelings about losing the game, and as they were trash talking, it's alleged, as they were arguing about basketball, an individual wound up taking out a firearm and your Takeoff wound up getting caught in the crossfire. Now, some reports are saying that your Takeoff and your Quevo were out here and they were supposed to check in with some people in Houston, and that really shows how your Takeoff and your Quevo really did not know how to move in these streets. And it's clear to me when I heard the story from the media outlets that neither one of these guys knew how to move in these streets, and that's why I made the video talking about how your Takeoff and your Quevo did not know how to move in these streets. Now, your Takeoff and your Quevo are suburban black guys from suburban Georgia, and as suburban black guys, they do not know how it runs in the city. And this is why they were out here looking for the protection of these guys who were in the Houston streets and looking to check in with them, because they didn't know how to move in the streets on their own, because any other grown man is not going to check in with another grown man when he travels. No, he knows that he doesn't have to check in, because why would I have to check in as related to being in any area unless I was dealing with some shady types? So that's why I say that he didn't know how to move in these streets, because dudes who know how to move in these streets, they don't fall for scams like this, because they know that nobody can provide you with protection like that unless you out here doing some shady stuff. Now, when I looked at your Takeoff and Quevo's behavior, again, it showed me that they didn't know how to move, because here you have two suburban black guys worth $26 million apiece, and you got them down here looking at this dice game, and any guy who knows how to move in these streets, they know not to be nowhere near any sort of dice game. Now, I learned all about that growing up in the South Bronx, and the legendary rapper Kool G Rap talks about these dice games in his song Streets of New York, when he says, gambling spot, it's the poor man's jackpot, you win on the lot, you get shot. And your Kool G Rap was talking about what happens in things like these dice games, because when you're in one of these dice games, it's a poor man's jackpot, and the only reason why these guys are playing dice is because they're desperate and they want to get some quick cash. So what they do is find other desperate dudes to get with in a hopes of getting a little bit of change, out of these dudes, and they're hoping to capitalize on their greed. So what they do is they go out here and they start rolling them bones in a CeeLo game up against the side of a wall of a building, hoping to go get them some money as related to getting a little bit of bread so that they can go out here and have some money to hustle with. That's why they go out here and play the dice game. I mean, has anybody ever seen the Dave Chappelle sketch where you got Ashy Leroy? That's what they be doing as related to these dice games. But you have folks out here want to say, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I know for a fact that if you go out here and play the dice game on the street, you're going to wind up, two things are going to happen to you. One, you're going to get robbed. Two, you're going to get shot and killed. Those are the two outcomes that's going to happen when you go out here playing a dice game. When somebody's going to rob you because all of these guys are equally desperate, and because all of these guys are equally desperate, when they see you going out here winning a stack off of each of these guys, what's going to happen is one of the guys watching the game, he's going to go out here and excuse himself, or maybe 2-3 of those guys going to excuse themselves when they start seeing you start to win. And what they're going to do is look to find out where you're going, and then what they're going to do is go out here and rob you. So that's why G-Rap was saying, gambling spot, it's a poor man's jackpot. You win on the lot, you get shot, because he knows what happens when you go out here and you're rolling the dice in a dice game. Now, your Takeoff and your Quevo, it looks like they didn't really understand how it runs as related to these streets and these dice games, because again, these are suburban black guys and they've never really experienced these streets, and they don't really understand how it goes in these streets. And because they didn't understand how it went in these streets, they were at this dice game, and again, it just showed how low their self-esteem was, because no man worth $26 million is going to be sitting up at some dice game rolling bones with a bunch of desperate guys and a bunch of haters. That was the mistake that your Quevo made by leading your Takeoff into this dice game. This was the mistake he made because as an older man, this older man was supposed to be providing this younger man with guidance, and he didn't provide that younger man with guidance, and he wound up leading to this man losing his life. Now, when I look at Quevo and Takeoff, it reminds me a lot of my relationship with my brother back in the 80s. And what my brother used to do was I would go with him certain places, but what he would do is provide me with guidance. And one of the things that I'm really grateful that my brother taught me about was learning how to move on the train when I was 14 years old. On the first day of school, when I was going to Park West, my brother went with me to school and taught me how to move on the train. And I didn't think much of that until I heard about this incident, but now I realize that it was a great thing for him to do, to go out here and show me how to move on that train. And he also showed me how to move in these streets when we were going places, and how to watch myself in certain situations. This is the lessons that my brother taught me. But sadly, your Quevo wasn't looking out for Takeoff. No, he was out here just thinking he could go out here and be with these kinds of folks, not understanding that these folks basically had a target on his back when the minute he got into Houston. Now, he was in Houston sitting up here thinking, oh, I'm safe with these people. That's a mistake that he made because, again, he didn't know how to move in these streets. And because he didn't know how to move, what he did was move right into a trap, because what happened was he didn't see that, oh, I'm in this dice game, and this dice game possibly could have been a setup to take me out. So they were sitting there going to this dice game, not understanding that you're a guy worth $26 million. You've sold millions of records. You're out here at this dice game, and you're not seeing that maybe these guys who you think you cool with might be looking to set you up or take you out. So he wasn't really thinking about that because he was feeling and not thinking. And again, he got in his feelings about this dice game, and as he got in his feelings about this dice game, and they started trash talking him, and they started arguing about things, and it escalated to an argument about basketball. He couldn't see that he was possibly in a trap. No, he couldn't see that because he didn't know how to move in these streets, because a guy who knows how to move in these streets, they understand, look, I'm not even going to be in a certain place because I'm worth $26 million. And if I'm worth $26 million, then I got to really think critically about who is inviting me where, because when you're dealing with certain dudes, there's a lot of these guys getting jealous. They see you out here living well. They see you out here having success. They see you out here making money. And a lot of these guys start to hate you. And because these guys hate you, they are planning to take you down, because a lot of these guys, they're not used to seeing a black man with success. So these guys were thinking, oh, everybody's cool with me, because a lot of suburban black guys, they think, oh, everybody's cool with me. But guys who come from the areas like I do in the South Bronx, we know that everybody's not cool with you, and that there are people out here who will pretend to be your friend, but there's a lot, and they'll be hating on you. And again, he was at this private party, not understanding that there were enemies at the party. And while some reports are saying that, oh, that people were being frisked, again, that's not your security. And in a lot of cases, sometimes when they have these private parties, your Pookies and your Ray Rays come to the party, and they start to see, oh, this celebrity is here. They start to get real jealous because they see this guy. He's worth $26 million. He sold millions of records, and they're looking at him and thinking about taking this guy out because they hate on his success. But you can't explain that to some people about not understanding that there are jealous people and crabs in a barrel. And the whole thing is, you got to watch how you move in these streets so you can avoid these crabs in a barrel. Now, what people don't know is that I've had life experience as related to dealing with these crabs ever since I was about 11 or 12 years old. And along with my brother, my father, and my mother teaching me how to move in these streets, I had to learn how to move myself, because again, you got a lot of haters out here looking to sabotage you, looking to take you out. And these people, they're looking to destroy you because they can't get the success that you have. So that's why you got to learn how to move in these streets. And I learned how to move, again, at as far back as 11, 12 years old in the South Bronx. And I saw what was happening with your Takeoff, and other people have seen what happened with your Takeoff, like your Ringo reactions. He saw what was going on, and your Deion Sanders, he also saw what was going on, and your Deion Sanders saw what was going on, and he started counseling the people he was coaching on his team, because he understood what happened here with your Takeoff. But you've got some viewers out here who really don't understand what's going on, and they don't understand what's going on at these parties. Now, the late David Carroll, back in the day, he warned us about why he didn't go to Super Bowl parties, and it was for the exact same reason. He said that, look, when you have people at these parties, they are filled with liquor and weed, and when there's big butt women, somebody's going to try to show out. And that's one of the things that happens at these parties. And I know for a fact from living in the Bronx, yeah, something is going to happen at that party when there's liquor and weed, or guys out here gambling. There's going to be some sort of violence going on, and this is why I avoid going to parties. Now, some people say your Takeoff was a reserve guy, and that really takes me back to my relationship with my brother, and how we used to move back in the day, because I was a reserved guy, and he had to look out for me to keep me out of trouble, and he would always avoid going to certain spots because we just didn't roll like that at all. But the whole thing is that when I was with him, he always looked out for me, and your Quevo didn't look out for Takeoff because he was so caught up in his emotions about trying to get acceptance with these street dudes that he wasn't really looking out for his nephew. And as a result of him not looking out for his nephew, he put his nephew in danger. And when he put his nephew in danger, he just went out here and was thinking about, oh, I want to get into it with these guys, not understanding these guys saw you a mile away when you checked in, and when you checked in, they set it up because they wanted to go out here and possibly take you out. And again, he didn't understand the chess game that was going on because he was in his feelings about getting in with these people, not understanding the big picture about things, and not understanding that you have a lot of guys out here who are jealous of another black man's success. And when they see another black man out here making paper, what they want to do is make it where that man doesn't exist, because that man is a example of what they can't do or what they don't want to put the work in to do. So they want to erase that man off the board in order to get an accomplishment for themselves. And that was what your Quevo wasn't thinking about. And what's really sad is that your Quevo, an older man, was not really in a place where he could go out here and mentor and counsel that younger man the same way I'm trying to do it in videos, the same way Ringo was doing in his video, and the same way Deion Sanders was doing to his team, because we all understand that in order for you to move up, there are certain things that you're not going to be able to do, certain places you ain't going to be able to go, and certain people you're not going to be able to deal with. I mean, this was a lesson I had to learn that far back as 13 years old, when I got some dudes who was hating on me because I had some Claremont Byrne X-Men comics in my collection given to me by my brother, and these guys was hating on me, and I had to learn back at 13 years old, there's certain people I cannot be around. And as I went into places like Park West High School, I learned there are certain people I can't be around. If I want to get out of this school and graduate, there are certain people I'm going to have to cut off. There's certain people I'm going to have to stop associating with. And there's certain people I can't get involved with. And one of the reasons why I'm out here rolling solo, and I've been rolling solo since I was about 16 years old, is because I understand that if you want to go somewhere, certain people you can't be around, because certain folks, when they see you out here, they're looking to try to bring you down. And there's certain people you cannot go out here and get involved with, like some of these street folks, some of these dope dealers, and even some of these sisters out here. A lot of these people, they don't have your best interests at heart, and a lot of these people are users, and they're looking for somebody to take advantage of. And when they see a green guy like a Quevo and a Takeoff, they see a big fat juicy target that they can go out here and take advantage of and use them to move themselves from one spot to the other. And that's why you got to be careful about how you move in these streets. You got to be careful about who you're talking to, who you're getting involved with. This is something I learned back when I was 13 to 16 years old, and this is why I walk alone, because I know that there's enemies out here, and these enemies will wind up taking you out. And if you are associated with these kind of people, what they're going to do is either wind up taking you out, or they're going to, in the worst case scenario, wind up flipping on you and flipping you over in order to go out here and get themselves ahead. Because a lot of green guys, because they want to be in with the cool people, what they do is go out here and try to get in with folks. And what happens is they're riding in the car with this guy, or they're walking down the block with this guy. Cops roll up, take you both in. And as this guy is out here telling a story to the DA to get a deal for himself, he's leaving you out to dry, and you're stuck doing 20 years. That's what can happen to you in these streets. if you don't know how to move in these streets. And again, it's clear to me that your $26 million Takeoff in Quevo did not know how to move in these streets, because if they knew how to move in these streets, both of these dudes, they would have been nowhere near that bowling alley. And some people want to say, oh, it was in a nice part of Houston, but he wasn't around nice people in Houston. No, he was around street folks in Houston. And the only people who go out here and participate in dice games are street folks, because folks who want to go out here and gamble, what they do is get on a plane to Vegas, because a guy worth 26 million, what he's going to do and is go out here and head over to Vegas if he want to go out here and gamble, roll them bones at a Vegas crap table, because if you're worth $26 million, you're not going to spend your time with these in the hood or with hood dudes. No, you know that you have too much to lose. And sadly, the problem with your Quevo and your Takeoff is that they didn't know their value as men. And because they did not know their value as men, what they did was bring themselves down to the level of the ghetto. And they brought themselves down to the level of the ghetto, thinking that they were going to keep it real. But the reality was they wound up showing us how little self-worth that they have, because a man who has self-worth, he's not going to go out here and lower his value by participating in ghetto behavior, like going out here and playing some dice at a party. No, if you know that you're worth $26 million, you sold millions of records, you're not going to go out here and spend your time at some dice game where it can wind up being dicey for you. No, any man who understands his value and understands his worth, he ain't gonna be on no street rolling some dice. No, he's not gonna be at some place rolling dice, because at 26, if I'm worth $26 million, I don't need to play a small change game. No, a guy who was worth 26 million, he's going to go out here and say, look, I have too much to lose. I've worked too hard for what I want to work for. And I'm not going to go out here putting myself on the line, being around street dudes, being around street culture in order to keep it real, because the reality is I have the success. And if I have the success, I need to act like I'm successful. And this is a problem that many black folks really don't get, that once you get success, you don't bring yourself down to the level of the ghetto. You don't come back to the ghetto. No, you don't bring yourself back to those neighborhoods, because if you bring yourself back to those neighborhoods, or you bring yourself down to that level, what's going to do, again, you're going to have these guys who are hating on you. You're going to have these guys looking to go and get you. And even worse, you might have some females looking to go out here and jam you up. Either they will set you up for robbery, or they'll set you up for saying you had a baby with them, or they'll say that you sexually violated them. And according to one report, they were saying that allegedly your Takeoff was supposed to go to trial for an alleged sex crime. And again, showing me that your Takeoff did not know how to move in these streets, and your Quevo wasn't doing a good job of teaching him how to move in these streets. And what's happening with what happened to Takeoff was he lost his life because his uncle didn't know how to move in these streets. No, he didn't know how to move as a man. And learning how to move in the streets, this is an essential male life skill. This is an essential male survival skill. And if you don't have people out here looking out for you to show you, hey, don't be in certain spots, don't go out here by yourself in certain situations, always be looking out and watching your back, you will wind up getting yourself jammed up. And you've got people saying, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. No, I know what I'm talking about, because I've seen a lot of stuff happen in the 80s, and I grew up during the crack epidemic. I saw folks getting out here getting jammed up. I saw guys winding up losing their freedom. I mean, I had a classmate who got arrested for selling dope. A couple of them wound up dead. And you saying I don't know what I'm doing? I don't know what I'm talking about? No, I know what I'm talking about because I've lived in the South Bronx all my life, and I've seen guys wind up like your Takeoff wind up losing their life and dying young because they didn't know how to move in these streets, and because they thought, oh, I'm a celebrity, oh, I'm a big guy. It's like, no, these guys don't care how big you are. No, if they're hated, that gives them more of a reason to come after you because they already are hating on you, and they're hating on you because you're sitting up here making this paper, you're sitting up here with this status. They see you out here at this level, and this is why I said over about 2 years ago, I believe, that if you get your money, you cannot come back to the ghetto, and more so, you can't come back to the ghetto mindset. Because if you come back to the ghetto mindset, what's going to happen to you is you're going to wind up becoming caught up in the ghetto, and you're going to wind up putting yourself in ghetto situations. And that's what I was talking about as related to moving in these streets, because you got to learn how to move in these streets. You got to learn how to navigate social situations and business situations, because if you don't know how to move and navigate those social situations and business situations, you're going to move yourself into a death trap like your Quevo did as related to that party. I mean, that's what happens when you don't know how to move. And again, when you're coming up in the world, you have to have one set of eyes open on you, because that's when the target on your back gets that much wider. But you got a lot of young guys out here who take their lives for granted the same way Takeoff and Quevo took their lives for granted. They're thinking every situation is going to be okay. But the whole thing is, you don't know if you're dealing with an enemy. And again, you have to think like a chess player, being 7 steps ahead and asking critical questions. Okay, why is this guy inviting me to this party? Okay, why do they want me to come over here? And why are they talking about stuff like, oh, you need to check in? No, those are critical questions, because you don't see no white man checking in to a city. You don't see no Asian guy checking into Houston. I mean, why does a black man gotta check into Houston? These are critical questions that a black man who is out here, who knows his value, gonna ask. He gonna say, okay, I see what this is, and I need to be out of here. I need to watch myself, and I need to watch myself because, again, when you're a heterosexual black man who is doing well, you are public enemy number one. And as public enemy number one, you got to watch yourself. And that's what the coach was talking about as related to things. And the coach was trying to warn those young brothers out here who were playing, I think, football or basketball. Your coach was sitting there trying to let these guys understand that you have a target on your back, and a lot of these guys ain't going to make it, and he was going to have to get them out because they're going to get involved with some dumb stuff the same way Quevo and Takeoff got all involved in some dumb stuff, and he needed to get those guys out of here so that, because they were going to get caught up in crabs in a barrel and take out all the other brothers who were out here trying to get themselves right. So when you're a brother trying to go out here and move yourself ahead, again, you got to watch how you move in these streets, because when you're a brother out here looking to be positive, looking out here to do something for yourself, this again makes you an enemy as related not only to the white racists, but it also makes you an enemy as related to black people. So you got to watch how you move in them streets, because if you don't move right, it could be your last move. And that is something that some viewers don't seem to understand. If you don't know how to move in these streets, one wrong move could be your last move, and you would wind up not being on this earth ever again. So if you want to learn more about how to avoid situations like this, you can pick up my Stop Simping books on Amazon.com, and you can pick up my other men's issues books like The Man Crisis on Amazon.com and other online booksellers. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, All About Marilyn. Learn all about the struggles of a faded former teen sitcom star in this absolutely fabulous 5-star screenplay. Get All About Marilyn in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com today.